Hey y'all, today we are going to be talking about metaphor. Now, chances are you've already experienced a little bit of education on what metaphor is prior to now, and this is going to be much of the same as far as just understanding what metaphor is. That said, we are going to apply it to our play in a different way, okay? This is not a hyper complex idea. It does, however, take some time. It takes some thinking, some brainstorming, and the requisite time to make sure that you are selecting the metaphor that you really want to pursue, okay? Because when you select your metaphor for your play, it is going to help inform the aesthetic of the play, from costumes to sets to lights, etc., etc. I'll give you a couple examples, and I am including a piece of reading as well to sort of elaborate on what metaphor means in this situation. Now, we know more than likely that a metaphor is comparing two things. You've surely learned about metaphors and similes previously in English classes, at least. A simile, of course, comparing two things using the word like or as, and a metaphor comparing two things without using the words like or as, okay? So a simile, of course, is something to the effect of her eyes glistened like stars, okay? Use the word like to compare the two. A metaphor, with that same example, you might hear her eyes were stars. They are the thing, right? Now we know, of course, that her eyes aren't actually stars, but by using a metaphor, we get a more powerful comparison by stating that it is that actual thing. Her eyes are stars, instead of saying her eyes glistened like stars, right? Giving the item, in our case, the play, a very specific comparison and stating that it is that thing gives it much more power than saying it's like that thing or it's as that thing. You are going to select your play, whichever one that is. You're going to pick a metaphor for it, whether that's A Doll's House, Almost Maine, or Twelfth Night. And you are going to think about what this play is overall, what it is metaphorically, okay? So for example, as I mentioned early on in these videos, the metaphor that I used when I did Into the Woods a couple years back was that Into the Woods is, not as like, not is as, not a simile, a metaphor. Into the Woods, the whole play as a whole, is the doomsday clock, or a doomsday clock, okay? And this allows for sort of, you just did imagery analysis, this allows for imagery to sort of take hold on the whole play. Why the doomsday clock? Well, midnight is a big thing in Into the Woods, and for those of you who don't know what the doomsday clock is, what it is, it's this sort of, I don't want to say scientific, almost losing my camera. I don't want to say scientific, but there's a group of scientists that puts together the doomsday clock, and what time it is on the doomsday clock, when it reaches midnight, that is the annihilation of the world, okay? This came around during the Cold War when we were looking at different powers, global powers, having nuclear capabilities. And so there's this idea that the closer we get to midnight, the closer we are to nuclear annihilation, okay? Now it still exists today, and you may have heard about it in the news in the last few years because they like to stay current and adjust it. It's 5 minutes till midnight, it's 2 minutes till midnight, it's 90 seconds till midnight. And as I mentioned in the previous video as well, that ended up informing a lot of the visual elements in Into the Woods because we ended up creating a sort of post-Cold War apocalypse set and sort of steampunk feel to the show that was informed by this metaphor. I'm going to tell you this metaphor as well, and I'll probably share it as an example, but what that means is none of y'all can use it because for Twelfth Night, when I did my analysis on this, I said that Twelfth Night is a house of cards. Meaning that all the lies and the deceit and these silly games that are being played, there was only a matter of time. It was not structurally sound before it fell down. And what that meant was we could incorporate cards into, or a deck of cards, or this sort of angular, geometric, red, blue, and yellow aesthetic to the set. So I'll share that work as well below as an example of this. But what you're going to do is you're going to put together a metaphor for your play. Now, I don't want you to just jump to the first thing that you come up with. I know it's easy to do that, but that's not good work, it's not hard work, it's not interesting work. So you need to put some thought into this. You need to come up with several things and whittle it down to what you think the best metaphor is for the entire play, whether that's A Doll's House, Almost Maine, or Twelfth Night. You can't use House of Cards for Twelfth Night because I just gave it to you. And then you need to explain how you came to that conclusion. I have other examples that I'll share below as well. And hopefully that's clear. Like I said, it's not a hyper complex task, but it does take time, it takes creativity, it takes sitting down and thinking about the best way to approach this, the way that you want to approach this play in design, because it's going to influence design. Because the next thing that we're going to do is talk about central image, and that's the image that is going to come together to sort of tie together your entire aesthetics for your design team. I did Newsies recently, just another example I'll try to include as well. And I said that Newsies, for those of you who know it, it's a musical, but also was a movie with Christian Bale in the 90s. Newsies is a steam engine, barreling forward, 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 with just all the tenacity and ferocity of what that is. It also tied into the time period. It's set in the early 1900s, where steam engines were just sort of the main mode of transportation. So it sort of tied into that as well. And I really liked the metal sort of feel to the steam engine that might influence the design as well. And my colors and that sort of earthy bass power that sort of goes along with the Newsboys union movement that is in that play. So that's what you're going to do. Pick a metaphor, and you're going to explain why you chose that metaphor, what influenced you to come up with that. Don't pick the first one you come to. Or I should say, don't just go with the first one you come to. Come up with others. If that first one ends up being the best one that you really love, go with it. But give yourself options to choose from. All right. Thanks, guys.